I don't think that works. It was worth a try. It was worth a try. When thinking about environments, what is the kind of shot that's going to fit this moment the best? I like to make the character small in relation to the space in order to make the space feel important. This is something that I do a lot in my own storytelling and I think can be very impactful, and I don't see it done super often. I am known for drawing small characters in my shots and I am proud of that. Okay, look, I gotta be real with you, okay? Am I making an environment for every scene in this comic book? No, but there are some, I call them like the A environments, like the environments. There's some places your story is gonna take place in that are important, that the characters return to, that a moment happens. These are the kind of environments that I'm talking about. We're gonna be zooming out and getting big with locations. I love drawing castles, and I'm gonna do some thumbnails to like figure out what's gonna work best and how to make this thing sing. I'm gonna make sure that my thumbnail is nice and small, so I make sure to stay on the big shapes. I'm gonna try and be like really bold here. If you're doing this traditionally, have a little whiteout that you can just kind of play with details as far as like the shapes go. That doesn't work. Nope. Let's try and make another bold kind of shape here. Maybe with some figures in the foreground, maybe like around a fire. I am drawing this quite small for a reason. If something works small, it's gonna work big. The shapes are a little easier to comprehend when it's small and it keeps things simple. Usually I work digitally when I do my thumbnails. I'm doing it a little different today, but when I do work digitally, I will totally go back into a drawing just to make sure I'm getting these details right. And this works just as well, which just goes to show you do not need digital tools to make comics in any way, shape, or form. A little bit of whiteout, pencil, and some ink will get you just as far, just as fast. Notice that we also don't want like competing shapes here. With this dip of this castle, I don't want the cliff face to be too similar. I don't want a shape, I don't want this U shape and then have the cliff face make almost the same shape. That's no good. It's like kind of a weird tangent. So instead, we want something that's like this, just so we have a strong deviation of the two shapes. You know, the designs of Castle Doom are kind of all over the place. So we're going to take a few liberties today. Going to get some castle reference, and we're going to tackle this and just make it look as cool as possible. I like this a lot. Let's go to the pencils. So the shapes in here are pretty solid. I'm just going to kind of quickly draw out just the kind of general shapes that I have. I have some reference here with me, but I do want to kind of get a general kind of idea of it here. So I think right about here is going to be the horizon line. So I'll draw that in right now. That looks good. And then I'm going to have a really subtle 2-point perspective here. Oh, you know what? That's not working. It's getting too intense. The angle is too intense, which makes me think that maybe this should just be 1-point perspective, but hold on, let's see here. Let's do that. That'll make it, there we go. That'll make it more subtle. That vanishing point's like way over here, which means that we can get away with a tiny 2-point perspective, which is gonna really make it look, it's really gonna make it pop. And you know, I think it's gonna be worth it in the long run. I think it's gonna just give it that little extra juice. See how subtle that is? It's really chill. And this is kind of why we were talking about all of those different perspective grids in the beginning of the lesson. We want to have that foundation so we can match the vibe of this scene with the best kind of environment and background shot. I'm gonna kind of just get kind of gestural with it here. And because we're working in 2-point perspective, we don't have a 3rd-point perspective, I can just use my T-square to be a resource. This is a T-square you can buy, it's like $4 at Blick. I like it because it hugs the paper really well. I don't like the big ones, they're too cumbersome. These perspective lines that are helping guide me, like for instance, like drawing these formation rocks on this bridge here. Do you see how I'm kind of like following these lines? They're kind of like a guide. That's why I have them there. I'm mostly using them as a guide, and then especially like when I ink. But here, like I know that the edge on this side, when I'm mirroring it, it needs to come down. It needs to stop here and come down here, then stop here and come down here. Also, this is mostly going to be a silhouette, this one. I don't have to be as militant about it, but I'm just starting to, I have my thumbnail here, which is my main guide, and that's like the shapes that I know I need to hit to make sure that the composition works. And then the detail, when I'm adding this detail, it's kind of coming in as I'm looking at my reference. All right, so here, right, like we got this perspective line right here. And I know that I want to have these like kind of spiky columns right here. And I'm working off that perspective grid for that entire thing. I have some no-name characters here that are just hanging out, giving us some scale. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start by blocking off some big shapes for us. And a lot of times when drawing rock formations, I like to use a tool that has a harsh edge. Sometimes I find if I use a brush for rock faces like this, it has a tendency to get a little soft because a brush is soft. Whereas this is literal metal. So I find that just the kind of happy accidents that happen with a tool like this are often just a little more satisfying when it comes to drawing specific things. Now I can't go completely dark with this because I need some contrast, so this being a black shape works in this small situation. So I'm going to, go out on a limb. I'm not going out on a limb because I know it's gonna work because it works small. That means it's gonna work big. I also have a shape here that will break it up for us a little bit. Look how nice that is. I'm gonna give this a little bit of love here. It's nice when it comes together. It makes me think a little of Mignola, but that was by total accident. Very, very stark, really, which, honestly, I don't even do that much, but it works for this composition. All right, so for here, I'm working on these bricks / stone, and it's all I'm basing it off of these perspective grid. I'm not pulling out a ruler again. I've only used a ruler here once to make the line. Now, when I kind of need to get into the detail element, I don't necessarily need to be pulling out the ruler all the time because I've kind of already got my map in place. I felt pretty confident about this thumbnail from when I started, and it was kind of the best of both worlds where I felt really confident that I could nail this and do it well, and also that it was the right image for the job. There's sometimes where you're not quite sure if you're going to get it. I felt pretty good about this one, but all that to say, you're never safe. I mean, drawings can throw you curveballs at every stage, no matter what. So I like to approach it the same way each time, and that way we can always be sure that, we're doing our due diligence and just doing our best to prepare for making a cool image. I want to make sure I am not taking away from this kind of section here. I'm trying to connect this shape with everything else without losing that intensity, which is kind of tough actually. I'm trying to get this over just so it ties in a little bit more. I'm not super worried about the detail now. Most of that is taken care of. There's a lot going on here, which I think is kind of taking away. So I think I'm gonna pull away some of this detail here. It's just how noisy it is, how many lines are actually there. We're getting close, but I need to erase it and kind of see what is left. I'd also like to finish filling out this detail here, so it kind of carries us through. That will happen once I finish erasing. Oh, also one thing that's not helping is this line right here just needs to be stronger, but I didn't notice that until I actually erase. There's a fair amount of finalizing that needs to happen after I erase because of my process. My lines are so dark. I'm noticing now at the very tips of these should be a little more pronounced. All right, I'm gonna strengthen this line down here. That already helps a ton. I'm gonna grayscale this out a little. Sometimes I've had definitely people being like, that's not how you draw that. But yes, that's definitely happened. I think people are appreciative in general when they kind of see an artist going above and beyond, when drawing different kinds of detail, maybe a fighter plane or a truck, because some of that stuff can really matter, and it doesn't take that much, as we kind of saw with the Captain America when we went into detail. Getting reference, it doesn't have to be hard. It's I'm not directly copying, I'm just kind of stealing from little sections and making it my own. And then we're just gonna see if it works. I don't know if it will, but I love drawing castles. I love Dr. Doom. That's why. The only thing is, I've gotta get in here to draw this.
I think that's okay.
It's not integral that he's there, especially contextually, if we know that this is Castle Doom. So I may get rid of him digitally after the fact, but he can hang out for now. No, I don't think that works. It was worth a try. And now what we're going to do, done. We'll wipe that out. Actually, you know what? This is okay for now. We'll leave it like this, and what really didn't work was the eyes. I think this image is pretty awesome. I think this big shape here, I think it's really confident. It really works. I also really like this contrast here. It's a nice way to just kind of show scale, which is always really fun. Adding too much detail in certain spots and not knowing where to go hard and pull back might be a detriment. As I say that, I forgot to add the detail to this wall. But I think for the most part, you know, it's like just making sure that, you know, if you don't need to go all out with detail, don't do it, you know. And it's even like as I'm working on this wall, right? Like I'm not pulling out a ruler, I'm not stressing too much about it, I'm just getting it done. I'm not like getting way in here and making sure everything's perfect, because you don't want that. You just want it to read well. You know, and now that I'm finished it wasn't even all that necessary anyway. It doesn't hurt it, but it didn't need to be added. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about this dark shape here. I had just a little more time, I might futz with it, but honestly, I'm pretty darn happy. I think this looks really good, and I'm gonna take the win. This is a challenging thing that we're doing. This is one of the hardest parts of the whole course. Backgrounds/environments, they have a tendency to just get us down and feel like we're never gonna get better at them. I promise that if you keep working at it, you will. There are steps that you can take, which I feel like we've shown you, to kind of get you into a better place. I'd encourage you to draw every day. I'd encourage you to draw from life as well, environments from life, just to have your sketchbook on you at all times and make it part of your life. Honestly, I mean, that's the only way to do it, to really get better at it. And good luck to you. You can do it. Keep drawing.
Anybody can learn how to make comics, but if you want to learn from Marvel pros, check out the rest of the course at proko.com/Marvel. We have more free lessons that will help you on your journey and let you peek into the course to decide if it's right for you. Once you go premium, we'll teach you scripting, drawing and inking techniques, how to make environments, comic covers, and more. There's so much to learn if you want to make good comics, and this course will set you on your path to make your own. You can save 20% off the course right now with code BLACK20. This Black Friday deal goes until December 2nd, so get that discount while you can. See you in the course.